Hello and welcome to my character display. I'm Mischa from the Reflex Dofus group, and yeah, this is my character. I'm the IOP in the team, and my goal is pretty much to be sort of a frontline and semi-off tank. It's sort of build, DPS a bit, and yeah. Let's get into the items and then characteristics, and then I think we're going to do a damage preview, and then that's going to be the video. So, to start off, we're going to go over the Guy's hat, and this is actually, overall, it's a pretty good hat, regardless, not even talking about my hat specifically, it's just a good hat for strength intel, so most IOPs are going to have this just because it really gives you a high amount of strength, this high amount of intel, good vit, and some pretty decent res, so it's pretty much you gotta take this hat if you're going straight into intel because there aren't many other options. The next thing are the flinty daggers. They do an unrealistic amount of damage. It's completely underestimated these when I first got them, but they do a ton of damage and they also have really good stats. Mine specifically have a bit over mage vitality, about 50 of each of the strength, intel, and agility, and then I also got one range, one summons, some damages, and then I got critical resistance and water resistance. Next is my barbaric band, which, quick little story behind this. It was apparently a huge waste of commas, and now I actually see that it's a huge waste of commas, because I could have just taken this off and used this, and then, yeah, I would have 5 MP, but then I could just grab a nomad, I could put it here, and then I wouldn't have needed to ever buy this. And Kojak pointed that out to me, and I mean, I like to ignore that fact of how much of a mistake I made, but it is what it is, and I'm going to point it out right now. So yeah, that's my barbaric band, but it also gives some pretty decent stats. It gives 11 to all the damages, almost perfect strength and intel, as well as vit, good wisdom, and some decent resistances. Next thing is the Inky Veil, which is actually XMH'd for 1 AP, just like this thing, except that's our MP. But so it's XMH'd, 1 AP, 334 vit out of 350. Got some pretty good strength and intel. Absolute garbage wisdom. That's supposed to be 26 out of 40, and this is actually below that. So I don't know. 3 critical hits, 1 range, 8 damage. Everything else is pretty solid, but the wisdom is pretty bad. This amulet is something I'm not even going to try to pronounce, but it gives 3% XMH fire resistance as well as some pretty decent stats overall for the amulet. This is supposed to be out of 350. Power is supposed to be out of 70 if I recall. I'm pretty sure it is at least. Yeah, out of 70, so that's perfect. That's pretty good. 3 crits, 1 AP, 1 MP. Nope. A single prospecting, and then we got some really, really good critical resistance. And then percent resistance is right here, so it's really awesome. Now, King Play's Signet Ring is my ring, or my second ring, and it is also XMH for 7 critical resistance. And I honestly didn't even know that until very recently, because I bought this thing and it was the cheapest one in the market, and it seemed to have pretty good stats, and I just completely just went over my head. So, I mean, this is my ring and now it has this. It's pretty nice. But anyways, 250 out of 250 vit, pretty good. 49 to 48 out of 50, straight to intel. You got 1 range, which is not really that useful for an IOP other than cut, but whatever, it has 1 range. Pretty good damages. -5 dodge, which is bad, but I mean, I'm not going to try to, mage this off because dodge is actually a huge pain to mage on. And, you got some MP reduction and fire res. And I guess this dodge is actually sort of made up by this critical resistance, so it is what it is. Now, the next one is the Beltine, and this is actually a really good belt because it gives 1 AP, gives you percent power, and 350 vit, or up to 350 vit, so that's all wicked dope. Another bad part, -10 dodge, 4 MP loss res, 20 critical damage, 8 pushback resistance, 10 neutral, and 10 water, percent resistance, all pretty good. Another bad thing about it though is that it does limit your AP as well as this thing. They both limit it, but that's because this thing gives 1 AP and 1 AP, and that's because this belt gives you 1 AP, and it's not really expected for a belt, so they limit it. next part are the King Playa boots. These are actually pretty good. Just overall, they're pretty good. They do minus more dodge, but they have really good damages to 4 different elements, or no, to 3 different elements. This is just prospecting that's, there. But anyways, 350 bit. These are at 60, so 55 and 55, 37. A ton of critical hits for an item, just 6s. Like all these other ones are like 3 and 4, but no, this is 6. So that's really good. 1 MP and 1 range. And you get yourself damages, some prospecting, MP reduction, and water resistance. So overall, pretty good set of boots, I'd say. One of the better ones, along with like the flinty daggers and the Gaian's hat. They're just, they're not like necessarily over maged or exo maged or anything, but they're still pretty good items. So, yeah. The Crimson Doofus is what I have for my trophy, as well as Major Vigor, Major Rabid, Major Intellectual, Major Miracle Man, and a Shaker. Now, like I already said earlier, I could just swap out one of these things for a Nomad and such, and then I could just deal with that kind of stuff. But I actually do have the ability to do something that I probably wouldn't be able to do with with as little punishment as I do for it. So the reason why I have my trophies here and why I do appreciate having this MP thing, or this MP mage band, is because I can always add some extra resistance by swapping out one of these trophies. Let's say I need I need to be a lot more tanky for a team. I could always just put this in, and then I get some extra fire res, and then I could, wear my Sea Mule, which I'm currently leveling up, but, I could do this, and then I can already have 50% fire resistance, which is really good. And then let's say I need Earth Res. I could do the same thing, but then I would sort of need to be prepared because I don't have multiple different kinds of Sea Mules, or you're not able to have multiple different kinds at a time. So it is what it is, but this is actually pretty high resistances, just like straight up. That's 39, 38, 44, but whatever. So yeah, with this sort of trophy build, you can swap out that to still have a bit of tankiness in it, just if you want to, sort of deal with that. You can swap out a single power trophy, or if you really need the damage, you can always swap out the Major Miracle Man, which I generally don't, just because it's a good trophy. It's like 320 vitality is better than 80% power in my opinion. But if the enemy team is very squishy, or if they don't have a lot of vitality, I can always swap out that, and I can either get myself not a powerhouse, because these things are terrible. They just I need the crits. But I can always get myself maybe a Major Motivator to start first in the fight, or start higher up in the fight. As you can see, pretty bad initiative without it. But I could also get myself a bit more damage, or I could equip one of these in case they have a lot of AP or MP reduction, so I can survive longer and get myself into like the 60s and right there. So yeah, really awesome. Yeah, I think that's actually about it. I guess my damages are pretty important too. So I got 65 and 66 for Earth and Fire, and then 50 flat on neutral, 20 critical damage, 330 330% power, and it's about that. But yeah, resistances, like I just went over, flat when I'm on my chameleon and everything, are just 22 to Agi, Earth, and neutral, 28 to fire, and 59 to water, but that caps off at 50, so it's whatever. And yeah, I can actually change this to get 40% to what's called fire. There we go. So I can get 40% fire and 50% water in one thing, or I could go ahead and get myself 50 if I wanted here, or I could get more Earth Res and stuff, and it really depends on the situation of the fight. But yeah, I can really rearrange my set to get myself some more resistances on any of these things. And actually another pretty notable resistance is the critical hits resistance, which are actually, I haven't seen a lot of sets that have too much of it, so I think this is pretty good because it does supply like 67. It's not a crazy amount, but it is pretty good, because any crit heavy set that is based off of getting a lot of critical hits, or basically a lot of their damage comes from crits, then this is going to be really, really good, because you're just neglecting a lot of that damage, as well as you have to add that on top of the already fixed or already percent reduced damage. So it's really good when you have both these combined, and then your critical hits are hitting pretty negligible amounts. So yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and go into the fight, and then we're going to go through the damage preview. Alright, so we got a fight with this thing. And yeah, time to show some damage. So, currently, I have the daggers equipped right now. And they actually do a ton of damage, so I'm just gonna, like, assume someone starts close enough that you can do this. This is a first turn combo, so you can just power and weapon skill. And they actually both critically hit, so this is gonna do a lot of damage if both of these critical hit. Awesome, so those both crit, and as you can see, that's almost 2,000 damage, assuming 0% resistance, but that's hybrid damage, so it's really awesome, and since neutral is pretty hard to get its resistance, it's pretty much always going to hit a decent sum of damage. So, yeah. And with Brockle on, then you're hitting way, like, you're clearing that 2,000 mark easily, as you can see in the damage prediction, or at least what it was critting for over 1,000 damage if you were lucky. So, that was really awesome. But you're probably not always going to be that close, so I'm going to assume, you know, let's say the person's further away, you can also do this, which is another 11 AP combo. Just straight up like that. It's pretty good. Hit about 1,200. And then you can also do that and then 3 concentrations, but that's almost never worth it when you have this spell, just because, I don't know. I mean, when they crit, they do a lot of damage, but still, you're getting like 1,800 if you crit on all 3 of these first turn. And you're getting about 1,800 to 2,000 if you're critting on both of these, so it really depends on how much you want to, you know, test your luck. So, that's that. I pretty much only use the strength spells for, like, damage, like 1v1, and then the int spells are more of a utility sort of thing. Like, cuts more just to try to make someone be very immobile, whereas Destructive Sword does that -3 critical hits. I feel like their damage per AP isn't as high as something like Strength Storm, considering it has so much more range. And like this thing doesn't have much range, but since cut you have to be linear and you need to have a line of sight, it's, you know, it doesn't do much damage either. It's much more of a utility thing. Same thing with Sword of Fate, but this one's more of like, it does high damage for the amount of AP. As you can see, it's like, if I just run back here, this doesn't hit a lot, but it's like, it's from a long range, and yeah, you know, if you go ahead and grab yourself Sword of Fate and do this does a lot of damage, but like I said, it's still sort of utility because the person needs to have a lot of eroded HP, and this thing only has 800, so 30% of 800 is math, and I'm not good at that, so we'll round that to 1,000. At best, that's like probably like 300 if they have 1,000 to damage eroded. So, I mean, it's better when they're more eroded, but yeah, it sort of is what it is. I don't use the intel spells as much. I feel like their damage just isn't as high. But strength spells, as you can see, concentration actually a ton of damage for the amount of AP that you're spending. Like, this is unbuffed and it's hitting 330s. 298, so it's 300, and that crit probably would have been, I don't know, probably near 330 or something-ish. And yeah, so now I'm going to go over some strength spells, and then I guess I can show you the other weapon just in a final fight, and then, yeah, that's it, it's over. But, yeah, so, assuming you have yourself buffed, you can do pressure twice, which, if it crits, it actually does a lot of erosion. It's really, really good. So, let's see if we can get a... Nope. Not getting any of this, are we? Oh, there. That one crit, but it wasn't buffed. So, whatever. Yeah, it actually already has a lot less HP right now. It's, already has 1,100 eroded just from that. But, so... Now, assuming you're buffed and all that jazz, Sword of Fate, or Sword of Iop is incredibly powerful. It hits 750, 770, and then if this wants to crit for us, wasn't buffed, but as you can see, it crit for like 560 unbuffed. That's a ton of damage, and if it crits here, you get 900 damage in one hit from that range. It's just, oh, whoops. But from like here, critting for 900 is unrealistic. That's so much damage for just a spell. And considering you're an IOP and you're supposed to be close range, it's pretty good. So that's that. And then I guess I'm gonna do Wrath, but I'll just show you what the charged amount does. The first one actually hits about 1,200 to 1,300, but the charged amount will hit unbuffed 2300 to 2600, and I can tell you right now from already experimenting beforehand that it hits up to 4000 if you're fully buffed and everything. So being hybrid, it's not going to hit as much as, you know, your average person, but or your average strength Iop as expected, but I mean, I'm not going to ask for anything more. That's a fine damage for me. Alright, now we're just going to go ahead and use a different weapon. As you can see, our resistances are a bit better. You get a lot more earth res. Fire res is still there, it didn't actually change. Chance res goes down by 1%, so I don't know, I like it. But this weapon, I don't use it because it doesn't seem as versatile as the daggers, in the sense that it's 6 AP, so you really need to dedicate a lot of, AP to it. You can't, like, jump, hit them once, and then intimidation. You have to, or at least not with 11 AP. You can't even do that with 12, I don't think. No, you can't. So, I don't know, it's sort of, it's a niche weapon. If you have the 6 AP to spare, it's really, really good. And, you know, it's a guaranteed high damage hit too. Like, sometimes with daggers you can just do 2 hits and then neither of them crit, and then you can hit something as low as 600 if the person has decently high resistance. But this thing, you're pretty much never going to hit anything less than like 800 or 900 damage, just because of its wicked high base and its high damages. As you can see, like, it crits up to 1500. So if you do land a crit, you're going to hit a ton of damage even unbuffed. But like I said, 6 AP is pretty rough, considering you need to utilize all of that on one spell as opposed to being more versatile and splitting it off between, I don't know, like a pressure and then your daggers, but it's whatever. So yeah, that's pretty much all I really need to show you, and thanks for watching. I've been Mischa, part of Reflex, and that's it. Bye.
Tell me pretty lies, look me in the face, tell me that you love me, even if it's fake.